You know what I hate the most? Is when you do a video and the next day new information comes out and then you gotta re-record. Yep, that's exactly what happened in this video. Yeah, for those of you who know me, you know I'm a huge fan of Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is actually my favorite franchise of all time. I honestly love their games going all the way back to when I actually first played Fire Emblem, which was the Sacred Stones. It really got me hooked. I love the tactical RPG aspect of it and the way it blends that with the story. And honestly, my favorite part of Fire Emblem was the maps. Well, actually that's what it used to be. Unfortunately, ever since Awakening, the maps have been very basic and it hasn't been much fun when you're completing the game because literally every mission objective is throughout the enemy. There used to be a lot of variety in the missions that you would get in Fire Emblem, such as rescue villagers or defend these villagers, keep them alive, or things like that, seize the throne, all these different things that you would have to do. Nowadays, it just seems that Fire Emblem is full of route the enemy, and route the enemy. Yeah, so a couple quick mentions that they did show off in the trailer as well. They did show off some new emblems, such as Byleth being in there, which is pretty cool. I know Byleth has become a fan favorite ever since Three Houses. I know a lot of people's first Fire Emblem game was Three Houses. So of course, it was a no-brainer they were going to add them there. We also did see a little bit more of Ike. In my previous video, I said there was somebody who looked exactly like Ike, and I was sure it was like, well, in this trailer, they did actually show off Ike, which, funny enough, they didn't show him as an actual emblem, but they show him in a cutscene, which is kind of weird. Ike is one of my favorite characters, and they look like they're using his Radiant Dawn form, which is nice. I thought they were going to use the Path of Radiance because we've also seen Micaiah in the artwork in the first trailer, but hey, Radiant Dawn Ike is pretty cool as well. So I can't wait to see what other emblems we'll have, or if we'll have multiple emblems. For example, maybe we'll have Prom and Robin to, kind of resemble Awakening, or maybe we'll have female Corrin and male Corrin for Fates, or maybe we'll have, other people like Xander and I forget what the other guy's name is from Birthright, but maybe we'll have them as well as Rio, I believe it is. Ah man, I can't remember his name now. But maybe we'll have him as well as an emblem. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do with this, and then they bring back as well, because we already have Celica. It'd be nice to have both and Celica, because that game is really dual path, and that's another reason why that game is good. You know what? I think I'm gonna make a separate video on Fire Emblem Echoes, because that game is just too good, and I have to talk about that game. It's an amazing game, for sure. But yeah, there was a lot of neat stuff today they showed us in this trailer, and I will have it in the link description below so you can take a look at it. Yeah, so like I said, the enemies will now have emblems as well. As you can see in the trailer, it looks like Marth even turns evil, but you can tell that when they're the bad version, it looks like they have all red and black, which I assume means that the enemy's gonna have emblems, right? Makes me wonder, will there be duplicate emblems? For example, would you have Marth versus Marth? Or do you have to maybe defeat enemies, and then once you defeat them, you get their emblem, something like that? That's one thing we still don't know. I assume that that's the way we're gonna have to rescue some people or some emblems. That's how we'll get them, because I'm pretty sure they're gonna be very story plot driven, since the whole opening was about Heroes Pass and talking about the emblem. So that's my assumption, but who knows? Maybe you have to buy them, right, or some other feature there. But hopefully that does balance it out in terms of the difficulty. You see, my biggest fear with Fire Emblem is it becomes too easy. And that's one thing that ever since Awakening, it's really done, right? The biggest, I would say like the biggest one in terms of like being a little bit difficult and having me restart constantly was Echoes, right? Again, that was a remake of an older Fire Emblem game, or a classic Fire Emblem game. The newer ones weren't as bad, right? Conquest might be the other one that was pretty difficult, but not as bad as the original ones like the classics. But Awakening was very easy. Fate's Birthright was very easy, and Three Houses wasn't that hard at all. I honestly beat it without dying. Again, I did use the little, turn back time mechanic and go back to previous turns, but it wasn't that hard, honestly. Like, very few times I really had to use that feature. I do hope the difficulty in this one is there, because I'm very excited about this game. Another thing I want to talk about this game is the aesthetics of it. Not a fan of the aesthetics. They're going really all out anime, which is the same type of art style they use for Awakening and Fates, and I personally am not a fan of that. I did really like the art style that they used for Three Houses. I thought that was a pretty cool art style. It kind of reminded me a lot of Persona or like the Shin Megami Tensei art style, but not so much, right? It was more like an emulation of it. I know it wasn't the same artist, but I did really like that art style. I also really love the Fire Emblem Echoes art style. To me, that's my favorite art style that they've had in recent years. This one, unfortunately, is going back to the Awakening, and I'm just not a fan of that. I'm not saying that I don't like Awakening at all. Like, Awakening was pretty fun. I did enjoy it. It was nice to bring Fire Emblem mainstream and get a lot of people hyped about the game. It did do a lot for the Fire Emblem franchise. It's just, I don't know, call me old, but I like classic Fire Emblem. I really think classic Fire Emblem was amazing. There's something about classic Fire Emblem, aside from the difficulty and the art style. I don't know, it's just something about that was really good. But yeah, that's my rant on that. I am still very hyped for Fire Emblem Engage. It is another Fire Emblem game, and I'll definitely be getting it day one and playing it day one. I probably will definitely be streaming it as well day one. And of course, we'll be talking about it on the podcast, because I've probably been mentioning it every single day to Mike and Fan and everybody else who does the podcast with us, and of course people outside the podcast as well. So I'm really excited for this game. Can't wait to see what this world has to bring, and hopefully some twists and turns. I do really hope they do a lot more homages, right, to classic Fire Emblems outside of the emblems. Maybe classic stages, things like that. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Though I really hope that the next Fire Emblem goes back to that art style that Fire Emblem Echoes have. Hey, bring Genealogy of the Holy War. Do a remake of that. I really would like to play that game. From what I've heard, it's the best Fire Emblem game out there, and I've yet to play it. And I mean, they got Sigurd already, modeled in 3D, so why not, right? That should be the next game they do. But can't wait to play Fire Emblem Engage for sure. Fire Emblem Engage comes out January 20th, 2023. And man, I'm excited for it and hope you are too. I definitely will be streaming it day one for sure. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. And also don't forget to go ahead and follow us and subscribe to us on Twitch. We do live streams Tuesday through Friday, where we have a bunch of different games that we talk about, or rather play. And don't forget to check out our podcast every Sunday, where we do talk about gaming news, the whole gaming industry, and all that other fun stuff. Where it's me, Mike, and we also have FanXY, who's our reoccurring guest all the time there. And we also have some special guests who we like to call random encounters that come in and join the podcast with us every now and then. We really appreciate your support. We'll see you next time.